Welcome to this week's edition of the Cheap Pop Podcast with K Double and Alpha. Boys, take it away.
The following Four Aces production is for mature audiences only. Listener discretion is highly advised.
Hey, what's up? Oh, wait a minute. Yeah, we're not allowed to say that word anymore.
It's a Kofi Kingston and Big E day.
Yeah, it's a Kofi Kingston and Big E day with Xavier Woods and his torn ACL. Brother, get well soon. We need you. Things getting crazy. But anyway, it's myself, K Double K, and I'm here with the man with the master plan, the one and only Alpha. How you doing, my brother?
How are you doing today? We're back again, once again, to talk some wrestling and shit. It's your good friend Alpha, and we're gonna break down some AEW to start off today.
Yeah. We're gonna give AEW they do. They like our people be saying like that. Y'all don't ever talk AEW. WWE not the only thing out there. Yeah. I get it. AEW became kind of repetitious after a little bit, and so you get tired of talking about the same shit every week. And y'all think that we talk Raw and SmackDown every week. We don't, because next week we're gonna be talking some Book of Boba Fett season finale. Oh, was that thing beautiful? But today, as Alpha would like to always say, we are talking big sweaty men.
Big sweaty men.
This time we're talking to big sweaty men of AEW. Now, I'm just a little bit disappointed. I'm not disappointed because AEW is bad, because it's not. AEW is pretty damn good. I'm disappointed because AEW was supposed to have taken down the behemoth WWE by now. They had it all going, and now they're not. No. At the end of the day, AEW is a great product. Like I've said plenty of times before, it's a niche product. But more importantly, it's a place for people to go when WWE has their inevitable releases for budget cuts.
Yeah.
And this week saw another former WWE NXT champion arrive at AEW. And this time, this is one of the first times in which I can genuinely say I'm happy for the dude that he wound up in AEW. Not because AEW is bad, not because I don't like AEW. It's just that it's like, all right, yeah, okay, Adam Cole, you went from being a big fish in a small pond to being a big fish in a small pond. Like going from NXT to, what I'm saying? Like, no offense to you, but, you never gave it a shot to try to be a big fish in a big pond because you completely rejected the main roster, which I understand. The stuff that they were pitching to him for the main roster wasn't for him. And if it ain't for you, you shouldn't do it.
True.
You know what I'm saying? You're not giving the fans what they want if you're doing something that's not you. So I feel that. But really, he made a lateral move to me. Like, everybody considers it a move upwards. It's a lateral move to me. But Keith Lee, here's the problem what I have of the narrative surrounding Keith Lee. Is the narrative is that, he got brought up to WWE main roster, and just like everybody else, he was just shifted to the back burner. He wasn't given his opportunities. No. Keith Lee was put in the WWE title picture from the moment he landed on the main roster. Vince McMahon looked Randy Orton dead in the eye and told him, make him a star, because Vince believed in him. Keith Lee was given opportunities. It was injury and other out-of-the-ring issues that kept Keith Lee from reaching his potential within WWE. And then I will admit, that Bearcat Lee bullshit was just ridiculous. Rawr,
Yeah.
Bearcat.
Yeah. I was gonna say, with the exception of Bearcat Lee, you have a point. Like Bearcat Lee was fucking retarded. Bearcat Lee
Right.
was the worst thing in the world.
It
Horrible,
was.
horrible mess up. That being said, though, I wouldn't go as far as to call him underutilized, considering he went like what was it? The first 3 months was a bigger push than most people get in 3 years.
Exactly.
And that's not to say that he got everything that he deserved, though, because he deserved more. Keith Lee should be WWE champion. He should have came back and went right back into the title picture, rather than floating around in the mid card, going
Yeah.
lower and lower until he debuted as fucking Bearcat. Like, you know,
Yeah, no,
Lee
I
is
agree.
unbearably talented, but the match he debuted in was amazing.
Yeah.
If you haven't gotten the chance to watch it, I recommend watching it because it's fucking incredible. The spots that he pulls it's like the very moment he stepped out of the WWE, he stopped using the WWE style, which is impressive.
Yeah. Well, and here's the thing with I think that Keith Lee can become the star he should have been on the main roster. Think of Keith Lee like Drew McIntyre.
Mm-hmm.
Drew McIntyre kind of floated around the mid card in the WWE. I believe he was Intercontinental Champion once, but he Vince really believed in him, and to an extent, injury and some other out of the ring stuff kind of kept him from reaching his full potential that time around. Exit Drew McIntyre via release. Drew McIntyre goes to TNA, becomes Drew fucking McIntyre.
Yeah.
And fucking, you know what I'm saying? And then comes back and poof, ends up, he did a run with Dolph Ziggler. He's done a run. He did a couple of tag team championship runs. I believe he won the IC title again for a little bit before moving on to beating Brock Lesnar and getting that push in whatchamacallit. Again, here's another situation where Drew McIntyre capitalized. But real talk, everybody has said since that went down, if it was not for Aleister Black's injury, that was supposed to be Aleister Black's year. He was supposed to win the Royal Rumble. He was supposed to go on to a main event push.
Was it for his injury? If I'm not mistaken, he was in that Rumble, was it?
What he was, but I forget what happened.
I know it came down to Black and McIntyre. That is true.
Yeah.
That is 100% true. It did come down to Black and McIntyre. But if I'm not mistaken, they did just flat out choose McIntyre in the end.
Did they? Because I could have swore that there was something else that went on that caused them to end up circumventing his particular shot. But I may be wrong on that. I've been wrong before. But at the end of the day, it's one of those type of things where it's like, I could see Keith Lee doing this, going on, having a good 3-4 year run in AEW. Maybe he holds the AEW heavyweight championship, has a decent run with the TNT title. You know what I'm saying? Maybe wins the tag team championship, becomes a little Grand Slam champion or whatever in AEW, and then comes back to WWE to have his big WrestleMania moment and win, because he didn't part ways with WWE on bad note. They just released him. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It wasn't like WWE was like, fuck you, Keith Lee. You're no good. We can't use you. No, really, the roster was bloated.
Very true.
And it was too much for the writers to handle, and there were just too many people on the books. And unfortunately, Keith Lee was a casualty of that. And Keith Lee was also a casualty of the fact of the new direction that WWE was going to go in. Now, if you guys remember, a couple of weeks ago, I brought this up. WWE is trying to get back in the business of building stars from scratch, which caused them to offload a lot of their indie star talent, meaning guys who were huge on the indies before they ever got to the AEW or for the WWE, and kind of made their name before they got there. Okay. Those people are the people that WWE is trying to cut ties with, because WWE is trying to get back into the business of making stars from scratch themselves. Now, they're established stars, AJ Styles, Brock Lesnar. Of course, they're always going to be around. But now WWE wants to be able to take these guys from NXT 2.0 and slowly, that's why you have AJ Styles going down and facing Grayson, what's his name?
Grayson Waller,
Grayson Waller. Now you have Dolph Ziggler going down and challenging Braun Breaker. You're going to have guys from the main roster show up in NXT to challenge these guys, to help them learn the WWE style, to put them in main event matches on TV with top guys. You know what I'm saying? But or guys that were at one point top guys, but maybe you're now kind of just floating around that mid card to main event level. So they're trying to get back into the business of breaking stars, and unfortunately, people like Keith Lee were were a casualty of that.
Yeah, you're right. You know, if people like Ciampa, if people like Thatcher and LA Knight are considered to be victims of that notion, it's not hard to assume that Keith Lee would also be. Not only just because these are all people that made their name in the indies, but simply because that's where he's at in terms of age gap as well.
Yeah. You know, so I believe that that we have not. I'll put it to you like this: I believe, despite his AEW debut, I do not believe we have seen the last of Keith Lee.
Oh yeah,
in the WWE.
Who knows?
He's gonna.
Absolutely.
I think we're gonna see a Drew McIntyre type arc.
Absolutely. Maybe then he'll be taken seriously, right?
Yep. But okay, so I was reading an article the other day, and it's basically about how Tony Khan is basically going outright open with it and openly admitting that like he can't afford to re-sign like all the talent that's going to be coming up, you know, and some of them are some of the original talent that came into AEW at its inception. You know, guys like Joey Janela are like, I don't even know if I'm going, you know, if I'm going to be getting re-signed.
Yeah.
And Tony's saying he can't re-sign everybody. Now, of course, you know, I'm a comment reader. I'm a comment digger. I don't understand. I understand, but I don't understand the bias when WWE releases people because they had 300 rosters on 300 wrestlers on roster and we're only using about 60 of them, and so they decided to release them all in waves, a lot of them, right? Or was only using like 60 to 80 of them. WWE is the big bad giant, and they heartlessly look at all these wrestlers out of jobs because blah, blah, blah. And of course, Tony Khan's trying to be Mr. Savior and sign every single one of them to a contract.
Literally.
Yeah, literally. You know, but WWE is considered the big behemoth evil giant. But yet when Tony Khan says he can't re-sign people, it's okay, Tony. We get it. It's a business. So you didn't understand that it was a business when it came to WWE? Yeah, it's a much bigger scale business, but it's a business just the same. You know what I'm saying? Not everybody's going to make it in WWE. Not everybody's going to stay and be there forever. You know,
the people leaving AEW, are their contracts ending or are they being released from them?
Their contracts are ending. Tony just doesn't have the money to re-sign.
I was going to say he just doesn't have the money to re-sign them. Exactly.
Yeah.
See, yeah, that's problematic. You know.
Well, here's the thing that I've been telling AEW fans from the get-go, and like we mentioned, Daddy Khan is worth $8 billion. Tony's barely worth $1 billion, and that's with AEW included. So $1 billion, maybe $2 billion. So look, man, I get it. Tony Khan's got a lot of money, but also at the same time, he's got a cap on on how much Daddy's gonna let him spend on this project of his before Daddy shuts it down. AEW has ran in the red for the past 3 years financially. Okay. I'm pretty sure Daddy ain't gonna let it go on for too much longer. Everybody thinks, oh, when they drop the video game, then we'll see. When they drop the AEW video game, we'll see if it brings them back into the black. But at this moment, who knows? Who knows? I just know that I like AEW's existence because AEW gives wrestlers a place to go where they can still get massive television exposure without having to necessarily wrestle for WWE. And because I understand the reasons why people don't want to wrestle for WWE, and I don't blame them. What I don't understand is the hate that the people that do want to work for WWE, or where this assumption is that everybody that works for WWE is unhappy. I'm like, evidently Kevin Owens isn't unhappy. He resigned. Evidently Sami Zayn isn't unhappy. He resigned. AJ Styles isn't unhappy. He resigned. You know, and people, because they can't make that type of money anywhere else. Well, yeah. like WWE's a company that did $1 billion. Like, to Vince McMahon, they may not be worth $8 billion, but WWE is a company that did $1 billion in revenue like just last year.
Literally,
you know.
yeah.
So yes, that's where you're going to make money. And yes, unfortunately, whether people like it or not, guys like Brock Lesnar are worth the $12 million a year that they're paid because they're a draw.
Yep.
When it's announced Brock Lesnar is going to have a match, people tune in. Just because individual people don't like him as a wrestler or don't like his personality does not mean that he doesn't put butts in the seats.
Not an absolute moneymaker.
Exactly. So he's worth the 12 million. Roman has worked his way up to being worth 5 million a year.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm pretty sure they make that in merch back.
Easily.
Damn near that in a year.
Roman was number one in merch at one point. At one point he was.
Guys like John Cena get paid when they come to WWE. Why? Because they know that whether you love Cena or hate Cena, when you put Cena on the moniker, people are going to come see him.
Yeah.
And that's what AEW is trying to do. They're trying to put butts in the seats. But the problem with it is, and I'm going to say this for the final, or not final, but I'm going to say this to close out this segment. AEW is still having the same issue that they had before. Too much focus on poking fun at or taking shots at WWE. Too much time, too much of their time is focused on that. Not enough time focusing on being themselves. I hate to say it, they're not a bad product in any way. I've seen some of the best wrestling I've ever seen happen in AEW. But they're a niche product. People got to understand the Attitude Era is over for a reason. If the Attitude Era could have kept going on and on and on and on, we'd still be living through the Attitude Era now.
But we're not.
It came to an end because time changed, and the particular audience for that particular style of wrestling programming is not as large as it was. Because here's the deal with it too. Is I've known a lot of, if you watch AEW's numbers, it shows you that there are people that they are catching when they sign these new names, they're catching certain people's eyes, and the people are watching, but they're not tuning back in the next week. That's why you have these huge fluctuations in viewership. Because people are, CM Punk, boom, 1 million, 1.2 million, 970,000, 870,000,
downward,
970,000. You know what I'm saying? Like you're winning the key demo. Woohoo! You're winning key demo. Man, that's another thing that pisses me off is that Chris Jericho done got everybody so damn hyped on the demo.
Yeah.
Not understanding that WWE Vince worries about the demo for himself. His company and branding really don't have to worry about the demo because he's got a global brand that everybody knows and most will tune into.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So because of that, Vince doesn't necessarily have to worry about the demo. Raw's ratings could drop into the 900,000s, and guess what would happen? USA would still renew WWE's contract when it came up. Yeah. It's just that's where WWE is at. So beat WWE in the demo all you want. Advertisers are still going to want to air their advertisements on WWE time. Yeah,
man.
So anyway, any last words to close out this segment?
No, you hit everything I was going to say, honestly. So words out of my mouth, that's not most parts.
Heck yeah. Nothing but now let me make this clear as we close this out. Nothing but love for AEW. Nothing but love for Cody and all them boys over there, Adam Cole, and can't wait to see Jeff Hardy pop his head up over there. I'm good. I love what AEW is doing, but the delusion of some of their fan base is just beyond my mind. And I've been on this planet almost 45 years, and it's just beyond my mind. Thank y'all for listening in or watching if you're here on YouTube. This week's edition of the Cheap Pop Podcast. We will be back to talk some good old WWE. I won't tell you what the second W stands for because evidently you can't say that.
That's too good.
Shouldn't they change their name to WSEE?
Sports
the World
Entertainment.
Sports Entertainment. Or just good. WSE. I don't know. Vince don't like that word wrestling.
God damn it.
All right, y'all. Peace. You're listening to the Cheap Pop Podcast right here on the 4Aces Presents Radio Network. Spreaker.com, iHeartRadio, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, and wherever you may find your favorite podcasts. Imagine this. It's Friday night. You're at home wishing you can listen to an amazing playlist of some of your favorite music from the 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s, and 2000s. Pop, rock, whatever. Then take out your favorite podcast listening device and tune in to KD5P, otherwise known as K-Double's Fifth Period Music Class. Every Friday night from 8 to 10 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, K-Double brings you some of your favorite tunes live on the 4Aces Presents Radio Network on Live 365. It's me, Double KK Double again. This time I'm here to tell you about two of the best sports shows on internet radio. I'm talking about West Coast Bias with me, O'Malley, and The Duel. Occasional visits from an original host, Mr. Suave, and Double K's Classroom, hosted by me. Both shows feature sports talk about teams from the West Coast. So if you get down with West Coast sports, these are the shows for you. West Coast Bias airs every other Sunday evening at 6 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, and Double K's Classroom airs alternating Fridays at 8 p.m. on the 4Aces Presents Radio Network on Spreaker.com. And we're back. Welcome back. Welcome back. Welcome back. Welcome back. No, it's only two words I know of that song. Even that song is before my time. Welcome Back, Cotter is long before my time. So,
ancient.
Yeah. All right. So let's get back. We are back from break. I am K Double Double K. The gentleman I am here with, as always, is the one and only Alpha.
Yes, sir. Now, we talked some sweaty men on the first half, and now we're back to talk sweatier men. We're going back to Vince's house of sweat.
Oh, my God. I think as much as Vince, as much as WWE's most recent product hasn't necessarily been the best wrestling ever created and the best wrestling ever done. I think Vince doesn't get nearly enough credit for his impact on the wrestling world. He's been a part of some of the biggest things, like Vince destroyed kayfabe. I don't deny that, and he should eat accountability for that.
Pull the curtain back.
Vince has made some bad decisions when it came to wrestlers, but in general, Vince has brought us some good products throughout the years, but I want to say this real quick. Just to keep with the theme overall of what we were talking about coming out of break or going into break. I think AEW proves exactly why WWE moved away from the Attitude Era thing after a while. I think that the Attitude Era, like that particular type of storytelling, that particular type of wrestling, that particular type of show, doesn't necessarily appeal to the mass audience anymore, to the mainstream audience anymore. Not the way it did back then. I think the world has changed enough that doesn't appeal. And I think AEW proves that. Because I think AEW is trying their best to be an Attitude Era type wrestling promotion in today's society. And we see that despite their verbal, hyping of themselves, that really the numbers don't match the type of hype that they're putting out there. Okay, and everybody keeps saying, "Give them time, give them time." I don't think it's about time. I genuinely and honestly think that the attitude era style of storytelling and style of wrestling does not appeal to the casual fan anymore. And I think that it has its place. I think there are hardcore fans out there that like it, which is why a lot of the super hardcore fans are fans of AEW or fans of AEW and WWE.
Mm-hmm.
Because I think AEW has its place amongst those hardcore fans because it's nostalgia. It's taking them back to a time when they were kids and they really like wrestling. Because that's, I think, something that people forget throughout time is that as you get older, wrestling takes on a different form for you. I'm not as enthusiastic for WrestleMania as I was for WrestleMania 3 when my mom brought home that tape. You know what I'm saying? When she brought home WrestleMania 3, oh my God, it's Andre the Giant versus Hulk Hogan. Oh my God.
Never be the fucking same again.
Losing my mind, marking out. Like you can show me whoever you want in the main event of WrestleMania, and it's gonna get okay. I'll watch that match. That was pretty awesome.
Considerable.
You know, and so I think sometimes people forget that, like seeing what we see in wrestling as a kid and as a teenager is a lot different than what we see in wrestling as a grown ass adult. But I do. Go ahead.
There's just so many factors now, and it really sucks that it is that way. Even more so, I feel like that we've lost the best thing, like the most fitting product that the current state of wrestling and without getting too fucking like encompassing in a term here, like fitting for where we at in wrestling fits into society right now, like where it fits and what people are fucking into. We lost that in the form of NXT.
Yeah.
Like somewhere between indie, somewhere between AAA, with enough limits to keep people from bleeding every week, to make it rare enough that it's awesome when it happens.
Yeah.
But not enough limits that we still don't see people getting conked on the head with random objects. You know, like
for sure.
It was focused enough on why they were fighting each other for us to be invested in it. But in that same light, there was demolition style shit like war games enough to keep us entertained.
Right.
Like, for lack of a better term, for me, it was the middle of the road that was perfect. And not to just constantly shit on NXT 2.0, but it just sucks even more to see it become what it is now.
Yeah.
Because NXT 2.0 is not the worst thing in the world. It's not WCW 2000, but it most certainly isn't the NXT we had 365 days ago to the day.
And to an extent, and we spoke about this when they first made the brand change. I understand everybody's, I don't want to say anger, because I don't think it's anger, but uncomfortableness, disappointment with the changeover to NXT 2.0. But once again, NXT Black and Gold kind of falls into that Attitude Era-esque type wrestling show.
That is true. I'm not gonna act like, though, that in the final few months of NXT we didn't see it slowly begin to just devolve. Because it did.
And part of it was writing, but also, and this is one thing that I've said to multiple wrestling fans throughout my time online and etc. Just understand, like, I think the first thing before you discuss wrestling and its state is the first thing you have to understand is wrestling is just not as popular as it used to be back in the day.
Exactly. That's what I was trying to like word out there, that at the end of the day, like, wrestling doesn't have the spot in society that it had in 1999.
Yeah. And that's because, and I hate to say this, there are amazing personalities. There are big time stars in wrestling right now. There are no transcendent stars.
There is no Steve Austin. There is no Rocky. There is no
Hulk Hogan.
Selling out. There is no going to high school and seeing everybody seeing a what t-shirt.
Yeah, exactly. You know what I'm saying? Like you, and that's a prime example. I'm glad you gave that example, because that's exactly what I was saying to a friend. I was like, back in early 2000s, when wrestling was really hitting its peak, I couldn't walk 5 feet down the street without seeing somebody wearing a Stone Cold Steve Austin shirt, a Rock shirt, a Hogan shirt, an NWO shirt, something related to wrestling. Now I can go in months before I see anybody that's actually wearing a wrestling shirt, unless I'm walking amongst the wrestling community. Then that's something different. But real talk, like, people don't get that like, it's just not as popular as a whole, which means that the market share that's out there isn't as big as it was back in the 90s. Back in the 90s, there was room for two big old companies like WWE and WCW to exist and both draw great numbers, by today's standards. And so not anymore is there room for that anymore. Like, and yes, the bulk of the market share is WWE, because there hasn't really been, outside of a few places here and there hasn't really been any true competition to WWE in forever. Nobody that I'll be honest with you, nobody that since WCW, nobody that I genuinely thought was going to knock off WWE. Yeah. Like, I was like, let's see where it goes with AEW, but I never believed that they were going to be able to knock off WWE. I've constantly said that on this show. The TNA, ECW, as popular as it was, and that's another comparison that people don't like, is I say that AEW is to WWE right now what ECW was to WWF back in the day.
I only disagree in the way that I believe I'm a firm believer in what a lot of people call the conspiracy fucking theory, but it's there's too many fucking facts to the contrary. Like, look, dude, ECW was literally fucking WWE's developmental. Like, for lack of a better term,
fair enough.
Paul Heyman, no matter what he says, I promise you, Paul Heyman was ECW's William Regal. He was their developmental. Looking at the way that Vince was willing to work with ECW on multiple occasions.
Yeah.
And plug up ECW stars without them being signed to him. And all of the things like that, long before he even had the incentive to begin doing that in the form of WCW lighting a fire up under his ass. I find a lot of that really questionable. How quickly everything started to fold, and immediately Paul Heyman had a spot in
WWE
as a commentator, literally, like that, right away.
Well,
no hesitation.
I can't say it's necessarily that suspect, because Paul Heyman is one of the greatest minds in wrestling history.
Don't get me
it wouldn't be a bad idea to snap him up as soon as his company folds.
Vince is no dumbass. He's not going to look at Paul Heyman, one of the best fucking minds in the wrestling business, and be like, like, no, fucking, of course he's going to look at that and take it with him. But in that same light, though, like the way people and stars specifically
moved between the companies so fluidly. Yeah, I agree 100%.
Without even getting into everything with people like Brian Pillman and Steve Austin, especially. All
right, so let's jump right on subject. We've kind of taken up most of this half with that little conversation there, but I'll say let's jump on this early WrestleMania card, because I know we got Elimination Chamber next week, and I'm liking some of the matches. I'm definitely looking forward to that Ronda and Naomi versus Charlotte and Sonya Deville. That match looks like it's going to be pretty good. And shout out to Naomi and Charlotte for putting on a hell of a match on SmackDown this week.
Exactly. If it means Naomi stays in the limelight like this, I'm fucking happy. In my opinion, Naomi's a great fucking worker. She's a great wrestler. She's a great character. She needs to stay in the limelight as much as possible, especially when we're stuck in the mix of Ronda and Charlotte hell.
Look, I appreciate Ronda Rousey coming out to save Naomi, and that was great and all, but you know how bad I wanted the tribal chief to walk out, shoo away Charlotte and Sonya Deville, and pick up Naomi like, we got you, sis. Come on. And make her a part of the bloodline. Like, so bad. I was hoping it would lead to that. Where even Roman Reigns just got fed up, like, you ain't doing my fam like that. Like, you know what I'm saying?
Don't get me wrong, Naomi's glow gimmick is awesome, but theoretically, if she were to have a fucking character change like the Usos had from face paint to badasses, I think that'd be fucking awesome. I'm just saying.
Oh, bro, and then bring in Tamina. And, well, no, Tamina's not really a part of the Anoa'i family, though. She's Jimmy Snuka's daughter.
Yeah.
Yeah, she's Jimmy Snuka's granddaughter.
Is she?
But
Is she
just on the
related to them?
Samoan tip.
I know she worked with the Usos for a fat minute too.
Yeah, but I don't believe she's a member of the Anoa'i family though.
I don't think she.
Because I don't believe
either.
Snuka
Looking
was.
at that,
Yeah.
though. And yeah, no, Snuka was not. That's for sure.
Yeah. So I don't believe she was a part of the Anoa'i family, but she is Samoan, so they could bring that link into it, you know, and throw her in there too, and then make her and Naomi a tag team.
I'm kind of into that actually.
You know,
I'm kind of into that idea. I kind of like that actually. I might actually be invested in that.
You know, but we'll see what they do with it. We'll see what they do with it. But I so wanted that this week.
Yeah, honestly.
But I'm looking forward to that match. I'm looking forward to Becky Lynch versus Lita. Even though, like you said, it kind of sucks knowing that most likely, like, Lita's not going to win.
Yeah.
But it'll be nice to see her in ring in action again.
Personally, yeah, I'm just really juiced to see Lita in the ring again. I fucking love Lita that much, dude.
She's my girl, man. That was my first crush in wrestling there.
Honestly, though, I fucking like. I don't care what Lita does. Lita could go out there and produce the worst match alive, and I swear to God, I would still come in here and celebrate like it's the best thing that's ever happened. Still gonna work out.
Hell yeah!
Fucking love Lita that much.
But looking forward to WrestleMania. We do have the two main events pretty much lined up. We got Brock and Roman for the Universal title, maybe title versus title, depending on how Elimination Chamber shakes out.
Imagine that.
You know, and then we've got Charlotte Flair versus Ronda Rousey for sure. Don't know if I'm looking too much forward to that, but we'll see. Yeah. Ronda's still a little rusty in ring, but she's getting better.
For me, there's no good way that this ends. I'm sorry. There's no good way that this ends because there's either Ronda goes in there and she retains on the biggest stage of them all, or Charlotte wins on the biggest stage of them all again.
Well, no. You got that vice versa. Either Charlotte wins again and retains, or Ronda wins.
Oh, sorry. Other way around. Shit, sorry.
And we end up with Ronda Rousey as champ.
Sorry. Other way around. No, either way, Ronda walks out as champion, and she fucking swoops it out, or fucking Charlotte retains. So either way, this is the bad ending. Not digging it. Kill it with fire.
Yeah. Give me something to really be mad at WWE about now.
On a small note, I do actually find it very fucking funny that Charlotte has Andrade's name just tattooed right here. Not because it's a bad tattoo or anything like that, but purely and solely because now Andrade's name is on Charlotte's body, so Vince can't censor it.
Oh, hell no. Yeah, Vince can't say you can't show that on TV.
That's hella funny.
Oh man, but yeah, can't wait to see both of those pay-per-views. Like it feels like there's such a large gap now between the last pay-per-view and because pretty much we're gonna go the entire month of March without a WWE pay-per-view. There's nothing between.
You're right.
Yeah, there's nothing between Elimination Chamber on the 20th or on the 19th and WrestleMania like April 8th or something like that. So it's going to be 6 long weeks of watching build-up.
Of just fucking build-up. And I hope it'll be actual build-up and not 4 weeks of fluff and 2 weeks of build-up.
Last thoughts. What are your thoughts on the Roman and Goldberg? I'm not expecting Roman to lose, but what are your thoughts on the Roman Goldberg match? Are you looking forward to that?
This goes, as I said before, honestly, without repeating word for word everything that I said, with Lashley versus Goldberg, this is all completely good and well so long as Goldberg loses.
Yeah.
If Bully Ray's bullshit take comes for fucking fruition and Goldberg wins, I'm fucking throwing everything out of my house. No, it's not even that bad. If Goldberg wins, I know he's just going to drop it at Mania, if I'm being honest. Like on the off chance that Goldberg wins anything at Elimination Chamber, he's dropping it back at Mania. But in reality, I think Roman's going to retain it, and I think that's the best way this happens. Hopefully, it's just two dudes spearing the shit at each other for 8 minutes.
Well, here's one thing to think about. If Goldberg did win it, right, it would suck, but it might be setting up. If Goldberg wins and Lesnar wins, it might be setting up Lesnar to drop the WWE title to Roman Reigns at WrestleMania, therefore effectively making it the SmackDown title. And then for Goldberg, who's a free agent, to go to Raw and drop it to somebody on there, like maybe Seth Rollins or somebody like that.
Okay.
It could happen because they've been talking about swapping them. Swapping
that
them
is
on the
very true.
Browns. That's a way that's one of the many ways in previous years in which they've made the shows relevant or made them or shook things up without necessarily doing another draft.
So they just throw a fucking curveball into the mix.
So, but we'll see. I have this weird feeling, like, as much as I hate it and don't want it, I have this weird feeling that Brock versus Roman is going to be title for title. Roman's going to retain and Brock's going to win, and it's going to be title for title. But that sucks for Bobby Lashley.
Honestly, if I'm being real, I kind of like that. I think that would add the final intrigue, especially if this is finally the final time we're going to see these dudes face off
for a while, at least.
I think, or at least on the biggest stage of them all.
Yeah.
I just if there's ever a finale to this fucking feud, I think this would be the best place to end it. Not just because I'm tired of it, but because I think this is them at their best.
Yeah.
This is God Hand Roman in full Thanos of wrestling mode. And then you have Brock in his most true to self character, fucking just murdering everything around him and enjoying. It's insane. Yep. This is them at their fullest in Mega Evolution form. It's fucking great. And if it's title, it's everything on the line.
And like you said, but see, like, people don't understand. People are like, we're tired of seeing Roman. I never heard anybody say I'm tired of seeing Austin and The Rock. And their feud lasted like 3 years, on and off. You know what I'm saying? Like I never heard anybody say, "Oh, Austin The Rock again." No, everybody was always like, "Austin The Rock." Yeah, that's how I kind of feel about Lesnar and Reigns. All right, let's see what these big boys are going to do, and especially like you said, where they're at this point in their career, they're going to give us a hell of a match. And so,
it's for me. Look at what Roman's done the last 6 months.
Yep.
Tell me he's not going to cut out and create a good story for this. Because Roman can reliably be relied on now to cut out 40 to 50 minutes for his matches and create a compelling story every single time that does not overlap with anything on the roster, so reliably so that he will go for his own cousin to make sure that happens.
Yep. Amen. All right, that's going to be our last note on that, sir. Going ahead and take us home.
You know how it goes, my people. Thank you for joining us today. It is a very, very special Sunday. And so, you ever have those times where you're talking shit with a homie and like you're backed into a corner. And at this point, you're too stubborn to back down. On that note, fuck the LA Rams. You ain't winning shit. Enjoy yourself and peace out, my people.